Welcome to Merrifield's Gardening Advisor. I'm Peg Beer, and I've been away for a few weeks, and I want to thank David and Debbie for filling in while I had a break. But I'm sitting in Debbie's chair today because we have a wonderful, wonderful guest with us today. I feel so fortunate. And we're going to give you just a taste of what the rest of the show is going to be like, because we have Lou Mazzatenta with us, and he is an incredible photographer on a lot of topics, really, particularly National Geographic things that he's done over his career. And okay, Lou, we're so pleased to have you and to share your experiences. Tell us, what did you do for National Geographic?
Well, Peggy, I did many things, but what I always wanted to do was be a photographer. So I was a picture editor for many years, and I finally got a break to get out and do a story. And from that point on, I did about one a year. And I concentrated on archaeology mostly. So doing these flowers and plants for you has been a new challenge.
Okay, so today, Lou is going to share with us some of the thought processes behind his incredible photography. Photography is so important in your garden. It's amazing what you can do with a picture. And I'm very excited about all of this, but in the meantime, he's also going to share with you some of his experiences out in the field. And this particular one, which I am incredibly intrigued with, the terracotta soldiers. This was a recent one. In fact, I brought along the National Geographic that this was in.
Yes, we had an article in the June issue, and it was the third article that I did on Terracotta Army. So I've spent a lot of time with these fellas, and as you know, it's the army that Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor, created for to serve him in the afterlife. So it was built 2,200 years ago. So it's been there a while. It was a real honor to be able to just go down there with those troops and photograph them.
Well, having read the editor's note in that June magazine, National Geographic, I understand that you were one of the very few people who were allowed to do that.
Yes, sometimes the word goes out that I was the first photographer to photograph, but there certainly were Chinese photographers before me. But we did have tremendous access to the soldiers, going right down on the ground and being right among them to photograph them. So it was really something.
Right.
Really awesome.
And it would be fantastic if we had the time for you to tell us more about how you actually were able to do that. But that particular picture is a teaser, because we want you to stay with us through this show as he will again give you some ideas about this. But Lou is also going to do a seminar for us next week at our Fair Oaks location, and so he will at that point have the opportunity to share more of the thought processes behind some of this. And speaking of seminars, let's bring up to the screen, because this is a very important time of the year for us at Merrifield Garden Center. We have the opportunity to share with you the knowledge of so many of our talented people. Today, for instance, curb appeal will be the topic at the Merrifield location at 10 o'clock, and I believe Seth Warner is going to be doing that one. And then at our Fair Oaks location, our owner, Bob Warhurst, is going to share with you ideas on how to be a successful gardener. He, of all people, and certainly all of us really, wants you to succeed, because as with a child, when they succeed, they'll carry on, and we need to be gardeners, okay? And then at our Gainesville location, we're going to have living fences. And Michael Fahey will be doing that one, and he's an incredibly knowledgeable person. And so I know that it's difficult to make choices because they're all at 10 o'clock. But do take the time to go and hear one of these speakers, because, as I said, it's an opportunity to give more time to the topic. And then next week, again, we will have 3 seminars. We'll have walks, walls, and patios at Maryfield. And we will have garden photography at the Fair Oaks location. And please make a note that Lou will be with us that day, and that he will go more in depth, not just with the photography, but also with some of his experiences, because it's rare that we have the opportunity to share this kind of experiences with you. And then at the Gainesville location, our topic will be designing gardens with color, which should be wonderfully interesting. So I hope that you will take the time to go and enjoy one of these seminars. It's such a wonderful opportunity. I've given many seminars in the past, but I've also attended many seminars. And I don't think I've ever been to one that I didn't come away with something that was worthwhile. So I think it's worth doing that. But back to Lou, and back to photography. And I think I need to share, because these next pictures are in my garden, and our viewers are very much accustomed to seeing pictures of my garden. However, it's often my pictures, and I assure you they're nowhere near what Lou's are. Actually, before we get to that, we have 2 more of Lou's pictures to share with you. Okay, getting a little ahead of myself here. Let's bring up this one, because I'm fascinated with this picture. This is in Argentina, Lou?
Yes, and it's in Corrientes province in the north. And a friend of mine who spent a lot of time working in South America said he knew I was doing a story on the gauchos, and he said you should go up to Lake Country and get some gauchos crossing the lake. So it's good to listen to your friends. They have good ideas. And so we got up there, and I shot this later in the evening, and it's just right at the right moment, because the sun was right behind the gaucho's head, and it hits the splashing water very nicely. So again, it's kind of, you know, lucky to get the shot at the right moment and to be in the right place.
To be in the right place at the right time, certainly. You know, yes, you put yourself in that situation because you are aware. And perhaps that's one thing that, as we proceed through this program, is being in the right place at the right time and knowing what that right time is. But the depth in that picture is incredible. Now, you were in the water when you took that picture?
I was knee-high in water. And of course I did have a motor drive on, and so got a lot of pictures as they were going across, and this turned out to be the best one.
I just think that is wonderfully incredible. And then this appeared in National Geographic.
Yes, it was a double spread in the National Geographic, a story about the gauchos of South America. So I learned to ride a horse. I'd never ridden a horse before.
That in and of itself is a challenge.
When I got back to my home in Annandale, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd look for my horse, and it wasn't there.
Maybe that's not a bad thing. And a totally different area in the next shot. And this is beautiful, but what was behind this picture, Luke?
Well, it was a story about the Thames River in England, and at Oxford, Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland, had a little sketch in his opening spread of Alice being read to by her older sister. So I thought it would be neat to recreate that image. So I hired the models to be the older sister reading to Alice. But as I was shooting, this beautiful swan and its babies came sailing by. And it was, again, just lucky that happened, because it wouldn't have been the same picture without those swans going by.
No, it's beautiful. I love even the color pickup between their dresses and the swans. And those are some of the wonderful Happy accidents.
And we almost canceled this because it was starting to rain. And I said, okay, well, let's, and we were paying these models. And anyway, we went ahead, and I think that was one of the early times that I learned you should always not let rain get in the way of taking pictures.
Absolutely. So we've learned that you watch for your sun patterns and don't worry about the rain. Now, we need to take a break, but we'll be back in a moment, and Lou will have many more tips to share with you. Welcome back to Merrifield's Gardening Advisor and to our wonderful guest of the day, Lou Massatinta, who is a fantastic photographer, has spent most of his life doing great pictures and wonderful works for the National Geographic. So I had the opportunity to meet Lou several years ago when he came to do pictures in my own garden. And you have seen many pictures of my garden because it's where I take the pictures too. Mine are not of the quality that you're going to see that Lou has done. But over the years, I saw Lou now and then, and this summer decided, wow, I'm going to see if he will share some of his experiences, not just in photography, but in the places he's been and what he's done through all these years. But I want him to share with you, and fairly quickly on this one because we need to go through it pretty fast.
Okay.
Let's go into my own garden and show you some of those pictures that he took that day and his reasons for doing it. And I think that we started with the garden beside the road, which is very important to me. Okay. What was some of your thinking in choosing these pictures, Lou?
Well, we pulled up at your house and you were at the mailbox, and I was so impressed because, you know, in my neighborhood, there might be a little mailbox and people will have a flower or two planted around it, but you have this whole wall of beautiful flowers growing along the whole front of your house. So that impressed me.
Okay, so these are the reasons behind the photography. That's one of them anyway. And it's very important to me, number one, that's a place where I have some sunshine, okay? So I can grow those plants. And I have a lot of shade. And this is an opportunity to grow the sun plants. But it's very important that there be something of interest there that as people pass by, they can enjoy. And you might tuck that into the back of your mind. If there isn't something in your front garden that attracts interest, you may need to rethink that. Let's move on through these photos. What about the next one, okay?
Well, then, you know, on a geographic story, we do a lot of research beforehand. We read books, articles, interview experts, so we have an idea what kind of pictures we want to take. But in this case, you were our expert. So we walked into the backyard, you led us there, and it was like walking into a national park, really. I mean, you have this huge area and everything is just beautiful and healthy. And I don't know how you do it because there's so much shade.
And there is a lot of shade, but it's dappled light. Now let's talk for 1 minute about the light conditions. My garden is a challenge. I know when we have the gentleman out doing videos, because it's traverses, yes, the dapple light plays with that camera. But you did have ways of dealing with that.
Well, I would pop a flash in there sometimes, kind of to open up the shadow areas. So I think it shows on your face here that your face comes out. It's not in shade, so that helps. So
he did use that in the meantime. And then the next picture, please, because we do need to move through these. This is a composite shot, and composite shots are fantastic. I love them. But what was your thinking here?
Well, again, you look for the details. You try to get overall pictures, you get details, you get portraits, you get this mixture of pictures for an article in the Geographic, for example. So here we've just focused in on a few of your beautiful flowers.
And I liked particularly the blue one there is Agapanthus. And he's done wonderful things with the light in that, too. The play of it, you know.
Thank you.
That was great. And the next one, please.
This one is definitely a posed picture. We're in your vegetable garden, And I asked you about this because I saw only flower. Do the flowers protect the vegetables from the...
In actuality, I think there's a lot of herbs in that garden. I don't have as much sunshine as I once did, and so I have to be careful. A lot of the lettuces do beautifully there. Tomatoes don't thrive. And so that particular year I added a lot of flowers because I love the birds, the bees, and the butterflies. So yes, there's a lot of herbs there and a few veggies mixed in, but I think I'm going to have to stop calling it a vegetable garden, okay? And the next one in the line, please.
Well, you have this wonderful cherub statue right at the entrance to your garden, and I think the plaque says, "Welcome to my garden," and it just is a nice note to start the journey through your garden. And as I was walking through, I felt like somebody was watching me, and it was the tree. Had a face on it.
Gardening needs to be fun, just like photography needs to be fun. Yes, it's work, no doubt about it. And I'm sure you did a great deal of work.
Well, that reminds me, I just read a quote from Thomas Edison. He said, I never worked a day in my life. It's all been fun. So when it's fun, it's not work. You're right.
This is very true. And so remember to put some of your personality into your garden. I think that's incredibly important. And the next picture, smell the roses maybe?
Here we are on your patio. What a great place to read a book. You have all these plantings on the patio itself, but that woods behind is just so relaxing to look at. You have a wonderful backyard.
Well, thank you very much, and I think you did a good job with these shots, and I really appreciated them. And the following one is a favorite of some of the children, particularly the grandchildren, have made comments about this.
Well, some, were posed, but this one was just a moment when you were walking up your rock garden and rock steps, and I just snapped it as you turned to the side. So you have to be ready to take a shot at any moment, otherwise it might get by you.
A little personality there as I sort of walk off into the sunset, because I think it was later in the day, and we need to take time to smell the roses, sit down and read that book, have fun with some of the things that we put into the garden, and relax to go and enjoy being in the garden. And when you're out there with your camera, you have the opportunity to do that. We'll take a break, and we will be back with more ideas on photography. Welcome back to Merrifield's Garden Center. Lou Masatenta, retired from a wonderful job at National Geographic, but not retired at all. He has gone back and done wonderful stories with them, and he has done a lot of other interesting things too. And we really pulled him into the garden center and more into that flower world, and you got lost in the greenhouse.
I did, yeah. I started out just to get a feel for the place, and it's so beautiful at the Fair Oaks nursery that you have. It's a beautiful place.
I'm going to ask you to go through these pictures and tell them some of your thinking and why you did what you did. So let's just roll with you through these pictures.
Well, Regina Langtot permitted me to bring all these, what I call the funny plants and flowers. This is a lipstick plant, and it looks like tubes of lipstick growing. So these are plants and flowers that look like something else. Go ahead.
Yeah, the next one is the full shot of that. Yes.
Shows the whole plant, and it's beautiful. It's very graceful. It's a hanging plant. It tends to grow from trees and wires. So it would be a nice one for your porch.
Absolutely, and actually could be grown inside too. And as he said, he picked up on some of these unusual things because he's accustomed to telling a story. And there's a story behind each of these plants. And I think it's fun because he did what he thought of when he looked at these.
Well, this is known as the fish plant, and it's very obvious why. And I looked for very closely at the one plant that Regina gave me and looked for the one that looked like a fish, and it looks like it's sailing through the water at this very moment.
Looks like a little guppy, doesn't it?
It does, a little goldfish.
Now, I'm intrigued with the next one. I thought this was so clever of you.
This is the rabbit foot fern, and it doesn't flower or anything, but it has these interesting growths from the roots that grow down, and that's why they call it rabbit foot. But to me, it looked more like a tarantula, so I found this picture of a tarantula, and it really matches up. But this plant will not bite you. You're okay with it. But actually, the tarantula is not dangerous, apparently, or not so dangerous. If it bites you, and it comes in all different sizes, from a size of a dime to a size of a plate. So that was kind of interesting to find out.
I only thought about the plate-sized ones, and maybe the bite wouldn't be as bad as they say, but it would certainly be a little frightening.
I would think so. You know. I would think
but
so.
But it's fun to see that correlation and what you thought of when you saw that plant. By the way, it's a beautiful plant and wonderful to grow in your home.
I think they should rename it the tarantula plant from the rabbit fern.
Now, they named the next one properly, Staghorn.
Staghorn fern, and it looks, its growth just looks like the antlers of a stag, and it's amazing how much they match up. Again, a hanging plant, and we did a simple background so it would stand out by itself.
Wonderful broad foliage, so it isn't always the flower that you're after, but the interesting foliage. And probably the best of his correlations is in the next picture. The zebra plant.
Well, I photographed the zebra plant from different angles, and it photographs well from the side, but when you shoot straight down on it, it looks like zebra stripes growing on the leaves. It's a wonderful plant. It's got beautiful yellow blossoms that I focused on in the center. And I like this plant so much that I bought one from you and brought it home, and it's now on my kitchen table.
And here again, the blossom is very interesting, but again, the foliage is the real attractant and lasts for a long, long time. And all of these plants that we've shown you so far are actually easy to care for and don't require a great deal of light. Okay, so you picked up on another interesting one coming up.
This is the pitcher plant, and I had a little problem with this because all of the pitchers were together. Do you call them pitchers or something like that?
Pitcher plant, yeah.
They were kind of all together. So what I did was I hit them, and so that they would spread apart, and that the moment I hit them, I would, fire the camera and the strobe, and the strobe would freeze them in place. But I thought afterwards that I should have, and I ran out of time, I should have used a slow exposure and got the blur of them moving and then popped the flash so that it froze the image of the pitcher plants. But anyway, I'll do that next time.
Yes, and we will have the opportunity, I think, in a couple of the other pictures that will be coming up to show you that sometimes that blurred image is even more interesting than the absolutely focused one, you know. You've done some great work with that. And while he was in the greenhouse, he took a couple of pictures of something that I've been absolutely fascinated with. Now here, we are talking with a gentleman who has had a wonderful life's work. He has shared that with the reading public, with National Geographic, and in so many other ways. And now he's sharing with us today, and he will share again next week. The gentleman that created this work of art, and I feel that it is Jim Mueller. And he has been selling these through our greenhouses at the Merrifield location, and well, actually, I think they're at all locations, but particularly, I've seen the ones at Fair Oaks. This one is a tabletop water garden, but he's added the fog to this. It isn't a complicated thing, although it looks it, but I think you captured that beautifully.
Well, Jim let me take one home, and I brought it into the studio, my studio, turned all the lights off, and he had told me he has a real problem photographing this. He can't get the mist going around the scene. So what I did was turn all the lights off, and I painted it with a light, with a flashlight, and I concentrated the beam on the mist itself to bring that out. So it's a very maybe a minute exposure, painting it with the light from a flashlight. That's how we captured the mist.
And you did a beautiful job of it.
Worked out.
It's very oriental in feeling. Of course, one of them is called Boats Mooring in the Heavy Fog. And now he's got a combination of two. And actually, they put the two pictures together here. In reality, I'm fascinated with the one where we see even your image in the background. Now, how did you do that, Lou?
Well, that's a combination of a time exposure to capture the painting of the light with a flashlight, and you can see that traveling through the space. And then I again popped the flash to record the image of myself. And you can see where the mist has kind of disappeared because the flash on the garden itself seems to go right through the mist itself.
It absolutely does, and you can see that he's accustomed to telling a story with these photographs.
And you can see the picture on the right, you see the two little fishermen under a jasmine tree, so you photograph it from different angles to that being a vertical picture rather than a horizontal. It's always good to take verticals.
Right. So some of the things that he thinks about is the subject, what's the story behind it, what is he trying to tell with that photograph, and the natural light, or how do you furnish artificial light. So okay, we're going to be back in a few minutes, and he's going to share with you some thoughts about cell phones. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Mary Fields Gardening Advisor and to Lou Massentinta, our photographer, who's giving us thoughts and ideas as we move along. Yes, they're not in depth, but we can't do that. But it'll make you think and maybe make you come out next week to his seminar to learn more about what he does with photography. But we want to share with you, and I'm going to let him guide you, again, some of his thinking behind some of these things with the ever-popular cell phone photography. So you were inspired, and others have been inspired by the first picture.
Yeah, well, it was Dave Yost who suggested we do something on cell phone photography, and this picture was taken, well, you know, it was a famous incident 4 years ago when the U.S. Airways plane went down. Sully Sullenberg was the pilot, and he saved 155 souls by his skill at landing. The first boat that approached was a ferry boat, and a fellow on board had a cell camera, an iPhone, and he took this snap, he put it on Twitter, right, and suddenly it was all over the world, this picture, and it just went viral. So it really showed the power of the cell phone to not only, you know, to have it available on you at the right moment, but to publish it right, very, very widely. So that kind of made the point of the power of the cell phone camera.
Now let's roll through some of these because you've included several with what you can do with these pictures, and they are all pretty much cell phone pictures, right?
Right. I judged the cell phone photo contest at the Cosmos Club, and this was one of the entries, and it's a lovely picture of a daisy, just with little beads of water on the petals. You can get fairly close up with a cell phone, and you know, if it's not natural water on the flower from rain, you can always have a little spray gun to put little beads of water on it.
So you've got that cell phone on you all the time. It's convenient.
And the next picture was also in that same contest. And you think this is out in the boonies somewhere, but it's right in the center of Portland, Oregon. It's goats being used to control weeds in the inner city. And it's very nicely composed with a strong black goat in the foreground and the others in the background. In the next picture, this was taken with a regular digital 35mm camera. I took that, I'm not sure where now, but this is the way it was taken naturally. And then the next frame, I ran them through something called iPhoto, which is an app that you can get for your iPhone. And this frame just shows a little darkening of the vignetting around the edges of the picture, so your eye kind of concentrates in the center. And then the next photo is another effect you can get with this iPhoto app, kind of like brush strokes, perimeter around the picture.
Get kind of artsy with it, huh?
Yeah, kind of fun. And then the next one, just doing it in black and white, which is also has its own effectiveness to it. So that's just one of the apps. And you have like, there are 500,000 apps or so that you can get for your iPhone, and 9,000 of those are for the camera alone. So there are a lot of possibilities there that you can download to your iPhone.
So you can play around with those pictures. Now, I'm intrigued with the next one because it's in your own backyard.
Yeah, this is in my backyard. It's a little pond that I have. The picture on the left was taken just with natural, light. But again, I ran it through PhotoGene, another app on my iPad, and popped up the colors more, the greens and the reds, put a frame around the picture. And you can do that with this app called PhotoGene on your iPad. The next picture is a close-up of that same scene with a gold leaf and a false color you can create. I think is the inset in there.
The inset's there. It is
yes,
small,
I
and
see
you
it.
really can't
that's
see
the
it
normal,
very well.
The normal
Right.
view that was taken.
And then he went to a beautiful subject, which is a hybrid lily. These are beautiful plants to have in the garden, and he's played around with those.
Yes, and this is in my backyard again, and the light was just very falling on it very nicely. And the next picture shows what you can do with this false color, that you can do your own artwork almost instantaneously just by pressing a button.
That's pretty intriguing, and I rather like the next one too.
The next one is a slightly different effect, but I thought these might make nice prints in one of the rooms, in my house one day.
Right. So you can not just take that picture, but you can play with it if you choose to do so with different ways.
You don't have to be an artist. You can.
No, no. And the next picture is rather intriguing because it's quite a collage, I think.
It is an app called Pic Collage, in fact, and you can group a number of pictures on one page, size them, and you have all of them arranged the way you want them arranged.
Right. Now, Lou, I'm going to choose to stop at this point in the game and to come back with some of your lenses and so forth, because I'd like you to take a moment more to talk about those. So let's take a break right now and come back, and then he's going to show you a little bit of his equipment, okay? Be back in a moment. Welcome back to Mary Field's Gardening Advisor and to the world of photography. How important this world really is to us as gardeners. Because guess what? I can go out and take a picture now of what I planted, and the tag gets lost. It doesn't matter. I've got it on that camera when I do it. Okay. So, photography is not just to give you a beautiful picture, but it's also very practical. So, Lou Mazzantenta, our guest for the day, is going to share a few more thoughts and ideas about how quick and easy, first, it is with the cell phone. It's wonderful. It's on you all the time.
You never need another camera with a cell phone. No. But these are some pieces that you can buy to expand the scope of your camera. The picture on the left shows a three-part lens. It's a wide angle, macro angle, and a fisheye, so that you can adapt to the lens of your camera. And then the top right picture shows a telephoto lens. It's a 12x, and it goes like 200, 300 millimeters telephoto lens. And the bottom is a tripod called a Gorilla Pod, and it's very lightweight. It travels very easily, and you can wrap it around a fence or your car window, rear view window, mirror. Just some things that are available just go on Google and Google them and say lenses for iPhone, and they'll come
I'm
up.
just so intrigued with that. The lenses that you've put on that camera, that's amazing, really.
And they're not that expensive. They're between $50 and $100. So.
Really, so you can get good stuff out of a lens that's not terribly expensive.
Right. Well, yeah. And I'm, you know, the sharpness, I'm not sure about all.
Right. Okay.
If you take the picture sharp,
you
it should be
can't
okay.
get Lou quality out of it. No, I didn't think so. Alrighty, you've got a couple of shots. Again, in the greenhouse, because he wanted to show you what you could do with this camera in sort of a panoramic effect?
Yes, one of the really wonderful things about the iPhone is the ability for it to take a panoramic view.
Right.
And all you do is hit the
Let's
symbol
come back to, he's got this
there's the iPhone.
iPhone in his hand.
And you hit options, and then you hit panorama, and all you do is hit the button, and you just make a view like this. Try to hold it steady and straight, and go around like that, and it drops it into your library, and you get a wonderful view, panoramic view. I mean, it makes it easy. You used to have to take, you know, segments, different pictures, and bring them together, but it does it all, and it's quite good quality.
Yeah, and the next picture coming up, I'm not sure just what all you did with this. I know that you had the young man at the garden center put them together in sort of a collage, so we bring up the next picture, please.
We did this at Christmas time in the Fair Oaks Nursery, and all the poinsettias were out. They were just beautiful, and all your Christmas decorations. So I made these 3 panoramic views, but it's best if you can hold that the camera straight and level. I'm pointing down a little bit in the bottom view, and there's a little bit more distortion.
That's incredible, and it was beautiful at Christmas time, and we did have Lou come in and do some wonderful pictures for us on the ladies' night out. Thank goodness, he's come in and shared a lot of things with us in the meantime. That's been wonderful. But I would like to take a second, just because I'm thinking of it at the moment, to come back in and look at what that store looks like right now. It pleases me because when the girls go shopping, they get some incredibly unique things, and I think this is the best ever. It's just puts you so in mind of the spring season right now, so do come in. All right, our favorite, which we're going to let flow into the next segment as we go, because Lou took some pictures of Monet's garden, and I'm sure that this is meaningful to all of you, so please walk through these pictures with us, Luke.
Well, last October I went to France to, really the main reason was to visit the D-Day beaches, but you know, World War II Normandy. But nearby is Claude Monet's home, and he has gardens all around his home, a beautiful home. This is a view of it, and then the next picture shows the view of just a small part of the garden from his bedroom.
That's great. And then you went out into the garden and took some pictures. So, oh, these dahlias were magnificent. Now here again, timing is everything, and I think you said that it was full sun at that point in the game.
It
right?
wasn't exactly the best time, you know, day. It was still maybe around 3 o'clock when the sun is somewhat overhead. But sometimes, you know, you have to take pictures regardless of where the sun is. And with the flowers, you could bend them a little bit at an angle to get the right light. Another tip is you could use an umbrella and put the flower in the shade so you have nice even light. One time at Herculaneum, when I was doing a story on the you know, eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD, and they found these skeletons of people who were trying to get away, we actually built a big white, you know, tent over that skeleton that was out in the sun on the ancient beach. So it's good if you can photograph in the shade to get that even light.
But these were wonderful, so you can get it. And oh, what this is, of course, his lilies are quite famous in his paintings.
Lily pond. Monet diverted the water from a river nearby, and neighbors got a little upset about that, but he finally got permission. And of course, this was the subject of many of his paintings. He started to get blind and couldn't travel much towards the end of his career, so all he had to do was was walk outside his door and find his subject matter right there.
Right. Right. You know, you've got so many wonderful things to share in this respect, Lou, and I want to continue with this topic because all of us, there's so many of us know and love the pictures that Monet did. And I think what you did there in the garden with the camera was wonderful. And so we're going to save some of these for the next segment. We will be back with you in a moment. Welcome back to Mary Field's Gardening Advisor, where hopefully you are totally appreciating the wonderful things that Lou has done with the camera. And he's got so many great things to share. Please run with this Monet's garden and what you were thinking behind some of these pictures.
Well, here we have the bridge that he built over his pond, and the paintings, that's a photograph in the background, and the two paintings that he did in the insets. So
it's the famous bridge, and it's
the
wonderful.
He painted it quite frequently.
And that's your photograph in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we also did a collage in the next one, and it was of those beautiful dahlias. And here again, look at the depth of color. I'm fascinated particularly with the orangey dahlia down in the bottom, where you've got beautiful shading in one area and sun in the other.
Mm-hmm. And just the black, dark background to make the flowers stand out.
Yeah.
So you really have to get close, you know, you really have to focus, and if you're taking pictures and it's not, doesn't seem right to you, just keep getting closer and maybe it'll get better.
Right. Well, you certainly got better with those. Now, again, in the next picture, this is the famous boats.
Yes, the boats are parked on the bank there, and the inset is a painting he did of three women fishing from a similar type boat. It was just a nice scene that's kind of held together and had a little center of interest with the boats there.
I think you did a good job with that picture. So good that I wanted to climb into one of those boats and go fishing, okay? And I like this particularly. I really wish that you could see the inset picture much better, because it's what do you focus on? What is that focal point and the blurred background? Explain that, please.
I was just a little fascinated with playing with focus here, and because there was this great reflection in the pond of this deciduous tree with the green and golden leaves. So I focused on that in the inset picture, and then in the larger picture on the aster itself, and through the background out of focus. So it's fun to play with focus when you're shooting pictures. And then this is the version that I felt was the best one, where I concentrated on the asters and through the background way out of focus.
That is intriguing. I like that idea of not having the background in focus, because it does feature that particular flower. Okay, Lou, I do think we're going to have time for just a little bit of the thought process, and I'm really glad that we do have time, because Lou does have a studio in his home, and it's interesting as to why he chose white, for instance, and how he got this to work, okay? And we will have time to share with you 2 or 3 of the orchid pictures so that you can see the detail that he got from this.
Well, we did consider different backgrounds, and we had a creamy background at first behind the orchid, and then a friend of mine felt that the white was the best, and again, I took her advice and went with the white. But this is in my studio. It's just a small room. I used quite large strobes. These are Balcar 2400 watt-second strobes, very powerful. In fact, the Geographic used them when they photographed the House of Representatives, big interiors, and they would line up a bank of the strobes just like these here.
Strobe lights.
Strobe
okay.
lights. Mm-hmm.
There was something that intrigued me, and hold on this for just a, well, here's a close-up of one of those orchids. And let's come back to Lou for just 1 second, because I was intrigued with this. I thought that I saw in the lower corner of that a battery. Did I see a battery
Has a power-
operating those lights?
Right, the power pack, yeah, that provides all the power to set off these big strobes. Actually, it's more power than I really need for a little
Okay,
studio
so
like that,
you
but-
weren't using your house electricity. You were using something different.
Actually, you plug it into the outlet, yes.
Okay.
In the house. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So I don't think we have time to share today, but I would be intrigued as to how you got the light in, for instance, the Terracotta Army pictures.
Actually, I used those strobes to a great
Okay.
extent. I would run wires all over the place to connect them to an outlet there, but it was a big undertaking,
I'm
plugging
sure
all that
it
equipment.
was. Okay, quickly, let's run through 2 or 3 of these orchid pictures so that you can see what he accomplished by having them in an area where he could control the light. You see the veining on this, and here the pronounced color.
Well, on the one on the left, I used the lights on to the side. Each were on the side, so that you brought out the shape of the orchids with the shadows.
Right. And let's go quickly through, because I want to kind of go, oh, we don't have time to do that. This is absolutely beautiful. What we do have time to do is come back to Lou and say, thank you so much for sharing with us all of these things on the TV show, because photography is an important part of our lives, and you can see how incredibly artistic it is. Thank you, Lou. And make time for those seminars. Come and enjoy.